If you're coming to private prayer at this time this afternoon or on Wednesday, you'll find that the church is marked that you should only enter through the left-hand door and not through the right-hand one. You'll enter into the church and one of the stewards will greet you. There was some suggestion that we ought to try and take people's names, or at least if people volunteered them, but I'm not sure that was going to be practical when we get to opening up for Mass. The steward will be asking you if you've had any contact with anybody who's had COVID-19, if you've got any particularly bad cough or sneeze or whatever. So please, I know it can sound a bit intrusive, but it's for the common good. When you come in, you'll find that there's a table just inside the door, with some hand sanitizer on, and that you are asked to use. Now we're keeping a one-way system in the church. So you'll come in, one way only. We've not marked the floors at present because we were suddenly going possibly from the 2 meters to the 1 meter. So we'll probably only try and let you in one at a time or a couple at a time. You're going to be sitting in the centre pews here. You'd obviously enter from this end. You'd come round to the left in front of the Lady Altar and enter into those pews. If you're going to go to the pews here, near to the confessional, would probably be better. Obviously, if there's nobody else around, it's not going to matter too much if you make your way in from this end. If you're going to go into the pews on the far side of the church, then go round, if possible, by the confessional. And in front of the altar. And then into the pews from here. As you'll see, we've roped off the pews. And whether we've done that exactly right, it's hard to know. We've also put some ticks on the pews. Now, this is going to be very hard for us all to judge. Those ticks are basically where, if there was one individual sitting, so if you came as just one person, you would be comfortably 2 meters apart. The pews on the side aisles are just over 2 meters 20 wide in themselves. So obviously if you sit any point in those pews, you're okay. If you sit right at the very end of them and somebody's sitting at the end of the other pews here, you will be probably a little bit too close together. Here also, if you're sitting one at each end of these the longer pews, which are just over 3 meters long, you would also be okay. Obviously, if you come as a family group, there's 2 of you and you're sitting fairly close together, then it's possible that somebody might just fit in at the other end of that pew. If there are 2 or 3 of you, then obviously you're just going to have to take that entire pew and probably sit towards the centre of it, will be the wisest thing to do. There are no prayer books, no hymn books, nothing else available for your private prayer, so please bring things with you. We said that this week we wouldn't expose the Blessed Sacrament, but we would try to have some quiet music playing. The doors are meant to stay open. The windows, which at the moment aren't, because they've just done Mass, will also need to be open. So, if you're going to be in here for some time, you may well want to bring a coat, because it might get a little chilly. When you choose to leave the church, basically just be sensible. Try and keep your eyes out, and if somebody else is moving, wait for a minute. If you're walking down the centre aisle and somebody is here saying their prayers, I know it may be great because you haven't seen them for 10, 11, 12 weeks, whatever. It may be very tempting to reach across or to have a word. please don't. Quiet, polite nod. If you want to meet them outside at a couple of meters distance where the wind is blowing, that would be absolutely fine. But I don't particularly want to take responsibility for you catching something. I'll be covering up the candle stands, because though some dioceses seem to be allowing the lighting of candles, ours appears not to be doing that. So when you leave the church, just leave sensibly. Keep your eyes out, get yourself carefully out, try not to get too close to anyone. And then as you leave, once again, you're invited to use hand sanitizer as you go out. As you leave the church building, one of the stewards will have kept an eye on where you were sitting and will go back and quickly sanitize that spot. I'll try and put this into writing, but I do have this question, what we're going to do depending on what the diocesan plans are for opening for Mass. I've put those green ticks at roughly, safe places. That gives us 18 individual people in church. That's not many. I could pull back the servers' benches from the altar and maybe put those against the wall and people could sit on those, because I would enter the sanctuary not around my normal route, but only straight from the sacristy to the altar, so that I'm not coming close to any of you. But it would be really helpful to know how you feel about wearing masks in church. One or two people say they wouldn't dream of coming if they weren't themselves wearing a mask, and it's fine. You can obviously do that whenever you come. But do we enforce it? Looking forward to seeing some of you this afternoon. I've had a number of people who've just let me know that they're likely to be coming, so I've got a vague idea of the kind of numbers that we're expecting. And on Wednesday, between 2 and 3. Obviously, next weekend, if we're going to open for Mass, I'm going to need probably at least 3 stewards for each Mass. So it might be helpful to have people volunteer for that. And I think it might be wise if for this first week at least I put on 3 Masses, a 5:30 Mass, a 9:15 Mass, and a 10:30 Mass, whether I'd have 3 stewards for each of those and maybe people to help them with a quick clean over of all the pews after Mass. Looks like they're less strict now on over 70s doing some of the cleaning. Not quite sure whether that sends positive sort of vibes out, but there we go. But at the same time, it's still, you need to be careful of your own health. Hope to see some of you later. God bless you. Have a good day.